Hello everybody, good morning, this is Fanny. Little update that I wanted to share about this painting right here. Let's start it. Okay, so see, it's gonna be really quick but so intense. Okay, so you see I took this symbol of the Kabbalion and I edited a little bit. I added the heart because the power of the heart, right, that is more important than everything else. And then the pyramid. Okay, you have the energy and the colors of the pyramid. And then you see I added for the circle, it's purple, white and green. So I want to explain the colors of choices and why I decided to put the wings. Wow, that was intense. So painting this last night, I actually liberated a girl from a curse, right? I heard years ago quantum hypnosis session, quantum hypnosis regression session by someone who was studying with Dolores Cannon, and she was saying, you know, that girl that was cursed because she was using time traveling without the permission of the priest, right? They saw her and they cursed her for 100 years in that tomb. And, you know, you watch videos online every day, and of course, a lot of stuff resonates with you, but sometimes you have a thing that just sticks and you could just think about it all the time. And for years, I just kept thinking about that all the time. And the reason being is that all the timelines are happening at the same time. So now that I'm more and more connected with that, and I'm actually able to literally almost remote view or astral travel to what's happening exactly at that time, it's like she's there, stuck there. And then that reminded me of another dream that I had years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, but that I always remember, that in a past life, I just have this memory of being in a mental hospital and being tied up to a bed. You know, that people came and they said, oh, she's crazy, let's medicate her, tie her to a bed. And being in that, I don't know if it's a movie that triggered it, seeing from a movie, or it was a dream, but I just have that image of being tied up on a bed and just having this anger at people. I'd be like, how dare they? Who are the people to have a power over my life, my body, and keep me stuck there, you know, when I'm telling the truth and I'm perfectly sane? And because they're not open-minded enough, they put me there and ruin my life. And this feeling of being powerless, and man, you see, just talking about it, I have all this emotion, this anger that's storaged in me, in my DNA. It's not from this life. Nobody's keeping me hostage, you know. I mean, so that, of course, when I make connections like that, that makes me think why this stuff repeat. And yesterday I was painting that because I was like, wings or no wings, and sometimes you have to work where you are, right? And not being so dispersed and run from a place because it's not working, you're running from a place and to another, like I've been doing, you know, of my life, or family problems. Oh, I'm gonna go on the other side of the world, I don't want to hear about it. And then, oh, this is, you know, whatever, this is not working, I'm just gonna run away, you know, fly over. But it's also, there's two ways you can see it, you know, or you can see it as the expansion and the freedom. And while I was painting those wings, I kept having those flashes. And it's crazy because I was watching YouTube, I was listening to music, right? Usually beginning around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I watch a few conferences. And then when it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and my brain is not functioning really right, I just listen to music. But when you're tired, when your mind is tired, the filter of the mind is turned off. So this is late at night, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, that I start receiving those flashes because my mind is not interfering or trying to say, oh no, whatever, I'm making stuff up, you know, or whatever. And And as I'm painting the wings and I'm having those flashes of this girl that's been stuck in this sarcophagus for 100 years, and now I'm interfering into the timeline to free her, to cancel that curse. And of course you have the permission also of the spirit, the people who cursed, that now are back as well, learning from their mistake and learning, you know, from their own evolution as well, that altogether you're coming to cancel this curse. Because of course if you curse someone 12,000 years ago, and then during all of our past lives this memory has came back, this memory of being in a mental hospital and being stuck and tied up, hands tied up on a bed and not being to move, is directly related to that other memory of being stuck in the sarcophagus, right? And so because of that, in all of our other lives, repeating the same cycle and challenges, right? So with a little bit of progression, because in that life she's not dead, but she's in a bed, right? And then in this life, I'm not physically tied up or dead, but I'm kind of stuck in that cave, right? So in every life there is this evolution, and it's getting a little bit better and better. And through the painting, because I'm in this meditative state, I'm able to travel, but by canceling one, you're also canceling, editing, changing the timelines of all the other lives. You know, I was wondering, because, for example, everywhere I've been in trouble with my neighbors because I refused to put my dog on a leash. It's a little thing, you know, but, you know, and of course my husband was always like, oh, you can never do anything like everybody else, you know, just follow the rules, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, but why would I put my dog on the, who am I to decide that my dog is not allowed to run? He's a whole person, being, you know. So of course, if I was living in the middle of the city, or when I take him in a place where there's cars or a lot of other dogs, or it's dangerous, for his own safety, I put him on a leash, and he loved it. He was so excited actually to be on the leash, because he was like tied up to me, you know. My dog, he just wanted to be close to me. But when I was in front of my house, in his own territory and stuff like that, Dusty was just free to go, you know, wherever. And every time I had a neighbor who came here and they were like, oh, you need to put your dog on a leash. I'm like, he's not dangerous. He's trained. He doesn't go to any other people's yard. He just stays in my yard. He barks. Okay, people come in front of my house. He barks, but he never attacked anybody. I'm sorry. I'm not putting my dog on a leash. You should go get on a leash if you want to, you know. And so... And then I was like, why am I like that? Can I not just like, be a little, you know, just settle for the rules sometimes? And then now last night that came back, and I was like, no, it's because of these memories, these triggers from being restricted, that then there are just things in this life, you cannot stand it, and you don't know where it comes from. And this is why it's interesting. And you know what? I just want a disclaimer before, because I've never been interested in past life. Seriously, even when my mom, she was like, oh, I've been in these regressions, my past lives and stuff. Or I was always like, oh my God, like, you know, yes, okay, I know we have past lives, but don't let the past, this is the past. The past is past. This is the past. Don't let now this is the present, okay? You're doing, you know, your life the way you want it now. Nothing is going to interfere. So it's not something that I was into or spiritually interested. Like I said, all the spiritual stuff most of the time creep me out, because they're supposedly pretending to be more open, when in fact they're just like even closed-minded, like trying to put, I don't know, guilt, you know, on people for not being just positive, fake positivity and stuff. That, you know, that just bothers me. But so because of all this time that I've had, like in the meditation and painting and stuff, and that just literally happened to me, all of a sudden I'm there, like in this room, I see what's happening, or I have a dream, and so then I'm like, okay, well, if it's happening, you wonder why, you know, you kind of question, okay, or when I had this dream that I was in an underground facility, you know, and then I look on Google and I found the exact place in Ukraine, exactly like my dream, where I've never been and never saw, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's underground facilities there. And the same, I mean, the dream, oh my God, I could speak 2 hours about the dreams I've had. But so yeah, so sometimes also understand why you are the way you are, why there are some stuff that just creep you out and you're like this, because there is a reason, because maybe you're here to change the course of things, or you're here to either you accept a trigger that you have and you live with it, or you work to switch it or transmute it. And by the painting, just something so simple, and so that was crazy, because I was the power of creation. You know, I always say that, not to be pretentious or stuff, but I always say that I feel like God when I'm making a painting, because it's so tiny and I feel like I'm so huge and these dots are so tiny, and I'm feeling almost that I have this creative energy that's coming through my fingers, and that I'm creating the dots, and whatever the images I'm receiving while I'm painting the dots, I'm creating the reality. That's crazy. Like, I know it looks so simple and so simple, like, you know, but for me, when I'm doing it, there's so much energy that comes through it, and I feel like I'm recreating the world, literally. And so I was painting that, and I was painting the purple, and while I was painting the purple, which is the coronal chakra, the crown chakra, and connecting with those flashes of those memories coming back. And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna leave some space, I'm gonna put some green here to symbolize the freedom, the soul that's liberating and running. And I look up at the music, I'm listening, and as soon as I'm like, I feel the girl coming out of this sarcophagus, right, of the breaking those chains, putting her wings and running, like just running, doesn't know where she's going, but running, you know, and I see the image. Oh my God, I have goosebumps, this is crazy. And the music I'm listening to, there's a clip, right, there's images, and all of us, and it's like a drone, and it's like the soul, and I see landscapes, and she's traveling, and I see the forest, and I see the prairie, and all of a sudden there is a dog that looks just like my dog. There's a dog running in a prairie, but just like liberated, and the dog is just running and free, and the grass is so tall, and wow, I don't know. And I was just like, oh my God, it seems like I'm just painting, but maybe I just can't literally switch an entire timeline. Wow. So, and because of those images that was just in front of my face, literally manifesting what I would see in my mind, all of a sudden I see it in my computer in front of my face. And I'm like, okay, see, even the algorithm, mostly the algorithm for the angels and your guides and God or whatever energy, it's really easy to manipulate the algorithm because all the possibilities are in the computer. It's just a coding. So once you're inside the matrix, it's easy to code whatever is going to pop on your screen, right? So I know I always have my invisible team with me, and they're sending me messages through my mind, and then confirmation through what you see in the nature, an animal passing by. This is why I teach the colors of nature, how to interpret the messages of the spirit animals or the stuff popping on your computer. And then you realize you're never alone. You know, this is the power of thought as well. You always sees it, but it's not just, you know, it sees it. It's also sending you confirmation to be like, okay, there is many proofs that this is real. Okay? And that it matters. So yeah, the Kybalion, you know, some kind of elevating also from the old teaching and bringing our own touch to it, the modern touch, because just like the Bible or God, it's beautiful to worship something you believe in and to respect and honor the traditions, but it's essentially, it's like the constitution. It's like a government. Beautiful. They came to America. They created a constitution, a new land, you know, for the people who were escaping oppression in England and taxes, abuse, whatever. They came back here to create a new society with their faith, right? And then they imposed to everybody else. And this is why America is the most religious country in the world. In France, we don't have churches. Just like here, people, it's very rare. People have a faith, but when I was in school, I had one friend who was like, oh, I'm a Christian. And even I was like, oh, you're a Christian? Like, oh, you're a religious? Like, you know, for us, it's like, oh, you're a religious? Oh, okay. Oh, they're religious. Like, you know, like we respect, but it's more rare. Well, here it's the opposite. It's like everybody is a Christian, and then, oh, you're not in a religion, or you're not in a faith or whatever. And because they came here to create their society to their own image at the time, and then the society followed. And like the Constitution, when they created it with the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms to defend yourself, because at the times there were wars, they were just killing families, raping women, whatever. Now it's changed a little bit, please, I assume. So we respect and we honor what was done before, but who are we if we're not powerful enough to put our own legacy, our own new model and vision for the new world, right? You can't create a new society if you're still dominated by the same old constitution that was created 200 years ago in a society that was completely different. Even the technology, you look at NASA, in 60 years, they were just barely going to the moon, and now they're literally touching the sun. Crazy. So of course, imagine if they were like, oh, we're working with the same satellite that we created 60 years ago. Now it's 3 years, every 3 years, every 5 years it becomes obsolete because it goes so fast. So it's the same with the religion. What worked in a certain model because the society, the communication was different, the way to preach was different. You were living in your village, you had this church, the only place where you could actually gather and be safe and find your community was in that church. Nowadays, the preaching is everywhere. It's internet, you can travel, you see cultures from all around the world. So the society, the model of society is completely different. So you're not worshipping or the same way that you were. People needed a point of reference. Okay, just like you need family, you need loved ones, you need a point of reference in your life to feel secure, protected, or even as an individual to know who you are. Who am I if I don't have any references and nobody to recognize the world and myself, you know? So that's why we need to find constantly, and the people, now there is a gap. That's why people are so isolated, because they're like, okay, there is these rules, these laws, these beliefs, all the society is completely different now, and I have these new experiences that come to me. There's still the people, just like the COVID, there's the people who are going to tell me I'm crazy, there's the people who actually believe it, we're still in that middle, okay? So elevating, right? So that's why I wanted to modify the design a little bit, elevating, more freedom in the preaching and in the honoring the sacred text, because we have our own print to live, okay? We're not subordinate of what happened 12,000 years ago, even though the history repeats itself. And characters, you know, characters that were 100 years ago, or Nikola Tesla, or repeat themselves in our own stories of every day, but with evolution. And yeah, and also to just not take too seriously, you know, the sacred is also simplicity. So wanted to make it a little funny. Even looks like my dog's ears, you know, yeah, always has his dog like this. That made me think, and it's funny that I saw this image of the dog running yesterday, because my dog, who passed away last November, a year ago actually, that's almost a year now. Wow. And that just like, the whole thing, I don't know, there's so much, oh my god, there is just so much in this simple heart, square, circle, triangle design Yeah. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to say. So yeah, I'm still offering, if you all are interested in doing the Flower of Life Art Retreat in December. I'm gonna have some time. I can do a week in December if you're listening to that and you would like to actually come and really isolate, immerse into a painting, connect with all that. Look at my books. I have, oh my God, my book. I don't have thousands of books, but the few books I have, they're gold. Honestly, this is just with that. Just if I don't know if I read all of them, almost read all of them, but just with that, that's already a good library to study and to just make you think and initiate a process of thinking. And once you connect, you don't need to know everything. It's a process. Once you initiate this process, just like I was writing in my team building, the thought. It's like once you think of him, he's already there. You don't think of him and be like, oh, I conjure you, Todd, please help me or bring me your wisdom. No, if you think of him, it's because he's already there. He comes to you, you know, he sends you the signs and the messages and stuff. So once you actually learn to recognize it, then you can be the judge of your own guidance. You can accept, or you can say, okay, I get it, and now what do I do with this information? Do I keep it as is? Do I bring my own reflection on it? And stuff like that. It's interesting. I mean, for me, this is all the stuff I think about when I'm painting. Maybe you think about your relationships, your whatever, but whatever the information that you receive at that moment is what you need. And even I don't want to stay too long, I'm sorry, I know my videos are too long, but when you have a dream, I talked about it in my previous video, in case you haven't seen it. When you have a dream or an information or a story, you will understand it a certain way at that moment, right? Let's imagine I'm in a conflict relationship or whatever. So of course I listen to a story that will instantly trigger that memory, and I'm going to analyze it with what I'm living at this moment. It's going to make me work on it. And then once this passes and I figured my stuff out, I'm going to think about it again, and I'm like, wait, I could see this in a different way. What does another message of this story? What's another way to look at it? And then another stuff comes, completely different. Oh, my karmic memory. Oh my God, I remember the stuff I heard about this memory. And one more thing, also, I'm going to write it right now in my book, memory imprint. So why was this me, the girl in this sarcophagus? Was this me, this girl in this mental hospital? It's bizarre. Mental hospital. I don't know if it was me, but it's a memory that I'm connected with right now because I have something to do with it. Either it's a... Why? Because Dolores Cannon explains in her book, The 3 Waves of Volunteer. And for me, this is, if there was one thing to take away from that book, it's one word. It's called memory imprints. Memory imprints. Okay, the Akashic records. So imagine if, in order to be who I am today, to have such certain level of wisdom or interest in certain category things. And for example, I'm interested in free energy, science and stuff. I've never studied free energy. I've never studied science yet. I have some stuff knowledge that comes. Why? Because imagine if I had to relive every life of everybody who's done it before. You know, the evolution, if we had to start over every time, we would be so delayed. So they created memory imprints, which is the data bank, the Akashic records, where all the memories of everything is stored. So essentially your soul has access to it. This is why sometimes you hear Joan of Arc, you know, the witch that was burned in the public square and stuff. Oh my God, I resonate too much with that. I feel like I have a wand. That was me. I think I was, you know, many people say that they think they were Joan of Arc, you know, oh, I remember that, that was me, you know, or Nikola Tesla, oh my God, I think I was Nikola Tesla in another life, I resonate so much with him and his path, and the continuing the work he's done. And probably people from resonance science, they're like, oh my God, I'm the reincarnation, you know, of Nikola Tesla and stuff, because we are connected to that memory, okay? So like a tree, right, there you have the information and gets diffused to many people who then identify with it, so they can learn from that. They don't have to start over. They learn with already. I did the example when I always talk about the book from Paulo Coelho, right? Coelho, Alchemy, The Alchemist, right? I haven't read the book. I haven't read the book. I don't even know what it talks about. Maybe scents of flowers and roses and stuff. But for some reason, the message of the book, I have it and I talk about it, and sometimes like maybe it's not this at all, but because it's in the Akashic Records, I have access to it, and therefore I don't have to spend my life reading all the entire books, because I have access to the essential message. Like I'm saying, if there was one message from Dolores Cannon, that would be the memory imprint. So maybe even if I had never read the book, one day I would wake up in the morning and it'd be like, oh my God, I get it. Oh my God, this stuff, it's memory imprints, you know, and I would think like, oh my God, I created that. I'm so smart. No, you connected with the work that Dolores Cannon already put, and you receive that information, because it makes us gain time. We have so much stuff to accomplish and not a lot of time. Time goes so fast. So yeah, wow, you see? Woo! What am I going to call this one? Think of a name. Do you have an idea? I don't know. All right. Have something with the soul. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. Have a great and safe weekend. Thank you for watching. Wow, and that crazy. I was just typing this down, and all of a sudden I'm like, so in the end, sometimes you have a past life and you wonder why, and you realize that it explains in life after life why this happened like that. And I was like, essentially, I don't know, I have an image of an empty box. If someone would offer me an empty box, that would be so meaningful to me right now, because it'd be like, the box where she was stuck is empty, so she's free. You freed someone, congratulations, you know. I had this image of an empty box, and then I remember a friend of mine a few years ago, 4 years ago, offered me an empty box, and I'm like, where is that box? And I get this box that's right next to me, and this is the box. You see how the hands here are tied, and there's no face, with a little candle. And it's funny because our power went out this morning, and when I open it, inside is written, calm the soul, free the spirit. Crazy. Willow tree, serenity. That's crazy, guys. It's like, you see, I kept this box. I was like, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. You know, I was like, okay, I'll just keep it. It's a gift, you know. And there's no face. I don't know. I always found this box was weird, but somewhat I wanted to keep it. And it's been right here. There's nothing in it. And now it even looks like almost a sarcophagus, right? That's why I was like, oh, it's kind of weird. And now I'm writing this and I'm like, the empty box is a reward. It's a congratulation gift. And I open it, calm the soul, free the spirit. So I just did something like, wow, it's crazy. It's just, this stuff just tripped me out, seriously.